Minecraft had much, much better villagers. Welcome back everyone to What If, the series where I write a custom mod for each and every episode just to try out some fun new ideas in Minecraft. Today we are back with a huge update to my new villager mod. This is a complete villager overhaul that is making a full game out of growing and managing your own village in Minecraft. Now, if you haven't seen the first two What If episodes showcasing this mod, I highly recommend you go check them out now. You will not be disappointed, and you'll also more easily understand what you're about to see. Alright, so first, let's quickly do a recap of what we have so far. We've got farmers that are harvesting and planting crops. There are lumberjacks chopping down trees and collecting wood. Ranchers are feeding and raising animals, as well as collecting resources from them. We have a butcher that provides meat and animal resources for the village. Miners go deep underground and mine out valuable resources from mine shafts. And the blacksmith forges those ores into metal and crafts tools and weapons and armor for the entire village. And a guard uses those armaments to patrol and protect the village from hostile enemies. And of course, a traveling merchant that buys and sells villager goods to keep the economy moving along. So far, the village has plenty of adult villagers doing their jobs, keeping themselves fed with a variety of food, and enjoying a well-rested night in their own beds. But where do the new villagers come from? Well, for starters, the village can now have children. Yep, you can now have little kids living in your village, skipping around town, and just generally being silly. During the day, they'll wander randomly around the village, visiting some of the other adult villagers. And if you have more than one child in town, they'll tend to hang out together. You'll even see them frequently chasing each other and playing tag. And when one child gets tired of running, they'll usually switch roles and the chaser will become the chasee. Now, of course, the obvious question is, how do you get new children in your town? Well, all villagers will now have a happiness value, which we'll go into more detail in a bit. But for now, let's just say that when a villager goes to bed at night and is near maximum happiness, there's a small chance a sparkling heart will spawn on a vacant bed in the same house. Now, these hearts will never despawn, and they'll give off plenty of particles and sounds, so it'll be easy for you to always find them. And they're just regular items. You can pick them up and keep them in your inventory. Now, if you take this sparkling heart item and shift right-click on an unclaimed bed, the heart will be consumed and a child will appear. So this way you can control what household your child is born into. And of course you can hold on to these hearts if you want to, if it's not the right time to use them or to trade them to other people. Now, as you'd expect, the kids will grow up and they'll eventually become part of your village's working population. However, it'll take them a little bit longer to become an adult than in vanilla, somewhere in the range of about 5 to 10 game days. So, what do kids do during this time besides skipping and playing tag? They go to school, of course. So now during the day, kids will be able to attend school. And to do this, you'll have to first build yourself a school, of course, and then tag it with the apple structure marker. Which, of course, you can pick one of these up in the town hall from the architect for just a few emeralds. So inside the school, you'll need a bunch of chairs for all your kids to sit in. And yes, I added chairs to this mod. Why? Because villagers need to sit. And of course, every school will also need a teacher. The teacher will head to school every morning at about 9 a.m. in game time and stay there until about 3 p.m. And once the teacher's inside the school, the kids will start filing into their seats. But sometimes they're a bit reluctant. I mean, what kid wants to go to school in the morning, right? And now the thing to realize is that school isn't just for kicks. It's actually vital to growing a successful village. You see, every villager internally has two sets of values, skill and education. Skill measures how well a villager performs their job. Higher level skills will make the villager far more efficient at their tasks. So trees will be chopped down faster and farms will be harvested faster. Just about every action that takes time is modified by a villager's skill. And as a villager performs tasks within a particular profession, he will slowly increase his skill in that profession. Education, on the other hand, greatly affects how fast a villager gains skill. So, with a higher education, the villager will skill up within their profession much faster. So, what do schools do? They educate, of course. As children spend more time in school, they will gain education, seen by the floating books above their heads. Now, once a child grows up, they'll be mostly unskilled. But, with a high education from all their schooling, they'll gain skill very quickly in whatever profession they go into. So having a good school within a village is the key to having a highly efficient workforce in the long term. So a child can actually gain education in two ways. First, they can randomly raise their hands to ask questions of the teacher, and this will give them a small amount of education. The greater education gains come from the teachers using books. So coming soon, there will be another profession that will be able to craft books which the teacher will pick up from storage and consume at school to educate the kids. And this will give the kids much larger education gains, as well as affect the entire classroom at once. So let's talk about happiness. Every villager has a happiness rating internally between 1 and 100. When a villager is happy, they will move faster through town. However, if a villager starts to get unhappy, they will slow down considerably and be much less effective. And if they get extremely unhappy, they will change their walk to a sulking walk, and sometimes they just don't even show up for work. You can tell when a villager's happiness changes. When they get happier, they'll get a little smiley face above their head, and when they get unhappy, they get the sad face. Now, there are many events that will make a villager happy, and there are many that will make them unhappy, and I can't cover them all, there's just too many. But generally, workers are going to get unhappy every day just by doing their jobs. So your goal is to keep everyone as happy as possible. Keep them safe from danger, keep them well fed, and keep them entertained. Which brings us to my new favorite villager, the Bard. He is a wandering musician and dancer whose sole purpose is to make other villagers happy. A true entertainer at heart, the Bard wanders around town and performs for his fellow villagers. As he plays his melodious tunes, nearby villagers will frequently gain small amounts of happiness, and when the song completes, even more happiness is spread. The Bard has 6 total songs that he can play, with more to come. But 4 of these songs are short little bits that he will play during the day as he wanders around town. But the 2 other songs are his true masterpieces, which he reserves exclusively for evening performances. As the sun falls and the workday comes to a close, many of your villagers will be ready to kick back and have a few pints with some friends. And they'll be heading over to the tavern. If you truly want to keep your villagers happy, then you'll definitely want a tavern in your town. You'll need many tables and chairs in here, as this place gets pretty rowdy at night. And of course, we can count on our good friend the Bard to show up every evening and put on his best show. When his song is complete, the tavern will erupt in cheers, drinks will be raised, and everyone will be much happier. In fact, the tavern patrons love cheering with their drinks for just about any reason. And each time they do, they'll get a little bit happier. The more villagers you have in the tavern at night, the happier everyone will get. So what you end up with is an evening of great entertainment, some drinks, and plenty of socializing. Basically, it's a happy factory for your villagers. Okay, moving on, let's talk about food. And by that, I mean let's talk about the chef. Working out of the back of the tavern, the chef's goal is to keep the entire town fed well. You see, good food makes villagers happy, and obviously it fills them up more. Eating dull, uncooked foods will keep your villagers alive, but it'll actually start to make them quite unhappy and miserable. So the chef can now cook steak and pork chops and chicken and mutton from the butcher, as well as bread from the farmer's wheat. He can also craft his own wooden bowls and fill them with his own secret recipe for beetroot soup. And all of these foods will provide fantastic nourishment for your villagers and make them a bit happier in the process. But if you want real happy food, the chef can also do some baking. Cookies and cakes and pumpkin pies can all be made by the chef. Now, of course, these foods don't provide much nourishment, but they sure know how to make your villagers happy. The chef will deliver all of these foods to the community storage for other villagers to pick up. Top quality food will always be chosen first among the villagers. Now, Now, if you've seen the previous two villager videos, you'll know that most of the ingredients of all of these foods are already provided by other villager professions. However, there are a few exceptions, and the farmers will be getting the ability to grow and harvest them soon. In fact, the farmers have received a few changes recently. They can now harvest sugarcane and deliver it to the storage, where the chef can pick it up and convert it into sugar. And in the near future, farmers will be able to plant and harvest pumpkins and cocoa beans and a variety of other things as well. Farming is also a bit different now as well. Farmers with low skill will occasionally destroy farmland after harvesting crops. So with a hoe that was created by the blacksmith, they'll have to sometimes re-till their farmland. But as a farmer skills up in his profession, they'll be much more likely to keep the farmland intact after harvesting crops. And farmers can also plant new crops in these newly tilled farmlands by intelligently evaluating adjacent crop types. Whew, okay. Now back to the children again. When they grow up, they become adults that have no profession. They're basically a generic villager, your green coat, or your nitwit if you prefer. They'll wander around town randomly, and they'll be happy to eat up all your food, but they won't contribute to your village at all. So you'll want to give them a profession as soon as possible. And now to do that, you'll need to visit the town hall and find the tradesman, who coincidentally looks remarkably like the architect for right now until I give him a better texture. But like the architect who sells structure markers, the tradesman sells profession tokens, and you can buy these for just a few emeralds. And with these tokens, you can right-click on any adult villager and it will convert them to the profession of that token. So what this means is you can actually convert any of your existing villagers and change their profession to something that your village needs more at the current moment. But the good thing about this is that if you change a villager's profession, they retain their skills from the previous one. And if you change them back later, they'll be just as skilled as they were before. So raising children and educating them is the best way to get new villagers to join your village. However, there is another way. This is the nomad. On rare occasions, small packs of wandering nomads will spawn on the outskirts of town, much like the merchant does, and begin to wander into the city. And they'll walk around and mingle with your other villagers for a day, but then as night falls, they'll wander off into the sunset, never to be seen again. However, if you have some profession tokens that you bought from the tradesman, you can assign them a profession just like you would any other villager, and they will become a full member of your village. So nomads are a great way to boost your population fast, but keep in mind that they won't be nearly as educated as a child that spent a significant amount of time in school. So let's talk about some of the playability questions surrounding this mod. The first and obvious question that I've been getting is, how do you start a new village? It seems like a catch-22 since the architect sells all the structure markers, but he only spawns inside an existing town hall. Well, the reality is that the architect sells all structure tokens except the town hall and the community storage. Those two you're gonna have to find in a naturally occurring village. That's right, I've changed vanilla village generation to generate working versions of my new villages. Vanilla villagers will no longer naturally spawn in the world. Instead, these new custom villages will spawn in their place. And all naturally generated villages will also have a town hall and a storage structure marker that you can easily take for your own. But the generated villages will actually be fully functional. The storage building will have a chest in it, and a few of the homes will have beds in it for the villagers to sleep at night. So while these won't be huge, sprawling cities, you will see farmers and lumberjacks and guards and even some children wandering around just doing their daily routine. Many of you have also been asking for female villagers. Where are the females in this town? Well, to be honest, I was very reluctant to add them because of the time investment, and honestly, I just didn't want to get into all the gender role stereotypes, if you know what I mean. But I can say now that I do plan on releasing female skins for every profession in the next update. Each villager that spawns will then be randomly generated as a male or a female, but you as the player can actually change their gender if you want to customize your town. You'll also be able to provide villagers with their own custom names. So the big question, of course, is what is the future timeline of this mod? Yes, I will be releasing this mod to the public. When I do, the link will be in the description, but at the time of this video's release, it is not public yet. Now, I had previously said that this third What If video on villagers would be the last one, but I already have almost all the content done for the fourth episode, which will definitely be the last one, so hopefully you can expect to see that very soon. After that, I will be starting a very unique video series here on YouTube that is sort of a let's play / let's dev of this mod. It'll be me playing through and building a large city from scratch, probably with the villager items mod on, but I will also be doing a lot of development and tweaking in the process, and I'll be looking to you guys for many feedback ideas and suggestions and comments and all that stuff. And after that series concludes, then I will release the mod publicly. So that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this update in what is becoming a massive villager overhaul. I can't wait to finish this mod. I can't wait to get it in your hands, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.